turned around with the other way.
He went to Chicago, his wife was with him.
It really is,
He wears suit and tie to work, he never suit and tie with him. I'll tell you that. Exactly.
Good morning, how are you? Mr. Hennigan?
Neil?
Call to order, please. Roll call.
Member Hennigan?
Present.
Member Kern?
Present.
Member Liscum?
Here.
Member Shines?
Here.
Member Ziff?
Here. Pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the minutes. Any comments on the minutes?
Yes, I have one change. It has to do with Section 2, discussion item, Section 2, under the Boynton Beach presentation, third paragraph. The original states that Member Kern stated that the Colonial Crown Manor Disposal System Inc. is a private Statute 629 for-profit company. That needs to be changed. That treatment plant is a private 620, Statute 620, not-for-profit company. That's a distinction that has to be made for obvious reasons. That's all from me.
Any others? Mr. Zepp?
A very important one, my wife's first name is spelled M-E-R-I, not Mary.
No? Roy? I have one. The company I worked for was not Battelle Corporation, it was Battelle Corporation, which is B-A-T-T-E-L-L-E. It's an Ohio-based company. And a question about, on page 7, the paragraph that starts at the bottom, third one up from the bottom, Mr. Paternity replied that the utility, okay, the second line is those remains. I think it's just mains. I think it's referring to a type of pipe. Not that we have bodies buried in it.
Well,
Yet. Page 8, let's see, it would be the paragraph that starts with Mr. Goff said Boynton Beach was still working with the cost numbers, and I would like to add there that I believe that's a reference to the oceanfront park, so that we can be more specific as where those monies were going. So if that could be added. And that's all I have.
I skipped over one of mine in my bio, the last paragraph, where it said the sewer conversion in the town of, it's not Jump Street, but Chelmsford, Massachusetts, C-H-E-L-M-S-F-O-R-D.
Okay, so I think we need a motion to approve the minutes
As amended.
as amended.
I'll make that motion.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. All right, so we're into the meat of the meeting. 7 items that we'll be addressing. Discussion action items. The first one is an opening statement. I'd like to read that because we had, the first meeting was sort of a whirlwind meeting. It went pretty hot and heavy, and I don't think the committee or the staff or anyone really had a chance to ground the meeting in terms of expectations and authority to conduct a septic to sewer assessment. So I'd like to welcome you to the second meeting of the Ocean Ridge Citizens to Septic Advisory Committee. The first meeting on July 15th was anything but routine. After the introduction and seating of the committee, it was quickly dominated by the Boynton Beach Water Sewer presentation. Now this meeting, it is our opportunity to outline for you our purpose, our objectives, and more importantly, to begin the process of listening to your input. The Septic-to-Sewer Advisory Committee, it's a newly formed advisory panel appointed by the Town Commission of Ocean Ridge to assist and advise them, the town staff, and you, the residents. This is our town taking proactive steps. Discussion of the need for a separate citizens committee began in earnest at the April Commission meeting and resulted in the adoption of Resolution 2019-09 at the June 13th Commission meeting. Staffing of the commission, one per commissioner, as per the resolution, was completed at the July Commission meeting. The commission recently identified an immediate need for a foundational assessment of the town's infrastructure as a necessary integral part of the upcoming potable water supply negotiations. The 30-year term of the agreement for services with the city of Boynton Beach expires in November 2020. Boynton Beach Utilities is the current water supplier connected to our town-owned infrastructure. The technical evaluation by the town engineer is ongoing, and the report will be presented to this committee at its September meeting. The recently revised Town of Ocean Ridge Comprehensive Plan, in the section titled Conservation Element, directs an in-depth look at sanitary sewer installation. The last time such an assessment was conducted occurred in the 1998 to 2000 timeframe. That's 2 decades ago. With the final report of the then-named Utilities Infrastructure Advisory Board being submitted to the Town Commission in July 2000. We, the committee, collectively come to this status and needs feasibility assessment after this extremely long interlude. In addition, the Commission saw the opportunity to combine these tasks with the ongoing search for a more comprehensive solution to the problem of aging and ailing condominium HOA septic package plants before it becomes a crisis. Understandably, as we evaluate, we cannot ignore the difficult, often controversial complications of climate and sea level rise. Likewise, we are going to be challenged by the comfort and security of the status quo as we measure the costs of voluntary, incremental environmental improvements, and finally, compare them to those of a potential, dramatic, compulsory, full-scale, mandated transition. In summary, both the Commission and town staff see a capable citizens committee as an efficient, effective solution to applying the required resources to these efforts. This committee is composed of resident volunteers from across our town. The members possess a broad skill set gained through a wide range of work experiences and individual accomplishments. We intend to collegially and constructively focus these abilities on this task. How do we transform this direction into meaningful action? My idea is to say, let's be guided by a statement of purpose. I need to have a little discussion here of how we find ourselves. We are a new committee operating under the sunshine laws. It's very difficult to lay down a framework, a groundwork for proceeding operating in isolation. So we have to do our sausage making in public. So what I went ahead and did, and I vetted this through town staff, is developed a statement of purpose that I would like to present to you, the residents of our town, to this committee, to the Ocean Ridge staff for comment and hopefully adoption. So here's the first slide. This outlines our statement of purpose, and the steps are to assess, to explore, to evaluate, to educate, to communicate, and to recommend. The one item that's missing from there, and it's extremely important, it is not our job to implement. We are an advisory body. We are here to assist the town staff and to assist the commission and to assist you as residents. Let's look at the first item. Assessing will begin with the presentation by Lisa Trepepi, the town engineer, of an infrastructure report in September. We will assess the current and proposed water agreement with Boynton Beach, and it's my understanding that all the members of this committee are in possession of a copy of that now. Is that correct?
That's right.
Everyone got it? Okay. We will conduct a trade-off analysis that will encompass looking at the water distribution infrastructure and the maintenance thereof. We will conduct a status assessment defining the current state of HOAs and RSF's septic systems. We will do a needs assessment. We will look at vulnerability. We'll look at sustainability. We'll look at costs. We'll look at alternatives. And we'll do that for HOAs and residential single family. Next slide, please. We will explore separating and solving the water contract. The water contract is for 30 years. We may need to separate this in its immediacy from the sewer proposal received from Boynton. Let's see, what else would I like to say? Let me just move on from that. I think that's enough on that subject. We need to look at accessibility for future water, potable water, and for being able to engage with Boynton in evaluating their proposal to us. So we'd be looking at easements and rights of way. Grants, obviously almost everything comes down to where does the money come from. I think we have a need within the town to build on our expertise in the area of grants. We have one commissioner that is willing and I believe extremely able to assist in looking at how we can get into the grant system, and by grants I'm talking about both public and private grants. We would be looking at making and maintaining the personal connections needed. We'll be looking at availability, applicability, and timing, and obviously leading to trying to secure some sort of grant assistance. We will look at the issue of, are we talking about an environmental mandate? We'll look at the timing of it. We'll look at the scope of it if it occurred. We'll look at how it affected other communities or counties after the last hurricane. Transitions, we will look at making associations with other municipalities. We need to have a better idea of best and worst practices. We will look look at what limitations and constraints, this is just a general catch-all statement here. As we get into this and it evolves, I think we're obviously going to find out things that we don't know now. Legalities, that's a whole area. Right today, we don't have the attorney. We wanted to sort of have this initial conversation without feeling that somebody's looking over our shoulder, and but obviously we'll have to do things in a legal way. Next slide, please. This is more of a functional, practical, physical evaluation. We'll be looking at the operations of the types of systems Boynton proposed, gravity, vacuum, or hybrid. We would look at implementation methodologies. Do we implement things based on need? Do we do things incrementally, or do we do a full town, look at a full town assessment? The implementation mode, a little bit different than the methodologies, talking about whether such a conversion, if it were to occur, would be voluntary, mandatory, and appropriate timing for doing one or both or some mix. Costing methodologies, we would look at the distribution of the costs, what would be borne by our town, what would be borne by Boynton Utilities, what would be the responsibility of the parcel owners, the ad valorem taxpayers. We would look at whether clustering could reduce costs, and we would look at how we would handle an HOA versus a private parcel. Funding methodologies, the complexities of sourcing and repayment, and finally a responsible agency who would do the actual conversion, whether it would be Boynton or the town of Ocean Ridge, and then who would operate the system that would ensue, whether that would be Boynton or Ocean Ridge. Next slide. We have a responsibility to educate. This meeting is a good example of that. In public, in the sunshine, we need to educate ourselves so that we become more than just volunteers, that we try our best to become experts. That's never going to happen, but we definitely need to be well-versed committee members. We would educate the staff in things that as we find things. We will periodically report back to the Ocean Ridge Commission. We have an ongoing responsibility to you to share our knowledge as a resident, with special emphasis, I think, on property owners and clearly those residents who are voters. We need to interact with the HOAs and educate them, share information, share best practices. We will have a requirement to be communicating with Raf Tellis, who's our municipal advisor, and obviously we'll be going back and forth with Boynton Beach Utility, and so far we've had a good rapport, a good relationship, and I believe everybody saw their enthusiasm at the last meeting. The essential need to communicate. We need to communicate with you in a timely manner. We are also doing this in a time of economic environmental stimuli. We've got a Boynton Beach proposal to help push us along, and we've got the hammer that we don't know how close it is to our head of a mandate at some point. So we have a window of opportunity, and because of the Ocean Ridge Commission, we are exercising that. In terms of who we need to communicate with in town, town, we need to identify, and we need to let those people know that they've got the greatest need, and we need to prioritize needs. We need to explore available and potential solutions, and for each of them, we need to explain what the cost implications are and the impact of the which the impact would also be physical, it would be financial, and timing. We need to assess the effect timing will have on any alternatives, and we need to present these as options. We need to look at where in the town the change will occur. We need to contact those who are affected and get them to start participating. We need to have open discourse on how to distribute costs and how to fund equitably. For recommendations, these are just general statements. They encompass obviously quite a lot of further detail, but we may be recommending things based on need. We may recommend things based on cost. We may recommend them based on time. We will clearly look at incremental versus full, and we will clearly look at presenting things or pursuing things based on opportunity versus mandate. We will have to look at what's appropriate immediately, short-term or long-term, and finally the nut. We need to identify costs, we need to identify sources of funding, and we need to understand how we would repay this. All right, so because of sunshine, all that information I sprang on these guys just through a handout. The same details that you got there. So I would like to give them the opportunity to address this statement of purpose. Do you think it's the right approach? Do you think it's sufficient? Do you have additions, subtractions? Whatever words you think are appropriate here. I'll just go in order. Mr. Kern?
I think it's an excellent format. The framework looks really good. It appears that we have parallel items for each one. We have the portable water as one that carries these different purposes, and we also have the sewer conversion, which carries these. But these are excellent, and I can't add anything, and I surely don't want to change anything. It looks really, really very good.
Mr. Zev?
Well, I appreciate all the effort you put into this, and I think it shows the amount of work that's potentially involved here in the scope. I would have two thoughts. Number one is I think it would be helpful, not necessarily now, but at some point, to divide it between septic to sewer and water. Yeah. This is focused quite a bit on the septic to sewer. I think the issues are different, and when it comes to the water, and would suggest that there sort of be the two tracks. Because a lot of these items don't really apply to the water contract. That was the one comment. The other comment is that, like I said, this is, I appreciate all your effort. It shows the large number of items involved. And I think one can find it overwhelming that there's this much involved in this process. So I would like to suggest or propose that we break it off into manageable chunks, and that we focus initially on your first one, assessment, and then because we really can't do any of the other ones until we have that complete assessment done. And I'm just concerned, I'd like to propose that we focus on that and not go off on tangents onto all these other areas when we're not going to really have the information necessary to really discuss them. And I'm sorry for all the details, but I mean, with your assessment, I might suggest that what be included in that are two of the items you have under Explore, which is the mandate, assess the status of the mandate, how likely is it, things of that nature, and the transition, other municipalities' best practices. Let's assess what others have done. One question that I had was, we were told that all these communities in Broward and Miami-Dade have voluntarily gone ahead and made that transition, and I'd like to find out, why they did it and get their information on that. So those are, apologize for my lengthy comments.
Okay, could I get you to hold off, and when we get to item number 6, I think we will address your breaking off the water portion, prioritizing it first, and I think you'll find that looking at the mandate and looking at the transition is also addressed in another section of what I will cover in item number 6.
Fine.
Mr. Shins.
Yeah, I'll join my colleagues in saying, I appreciate the thinking and research that went into it, because as a consultant, I like structure. And so having something that we can all look forward to and understand how this is going to unfold, I think helps everybody, not just us, but everybody that's interested in this and has a stake in this, which is everybody in town. And I agree with Arthur that I think we should really understand what the issues are before we delve into too much of a problem-solving mode. But I think this is a great start.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
John?
Yeah, well, thanks, Neil. It's a really good roadmap. It's some place to start, since we all haven't been able to speak with each other, which makes this very difficult.
Yes.
So it's a good starting point. And I agree with Arthur on starting with the assessment. And I don't even know if we're at the point where we all agree we should be on sewer. Do we all think we should go to sewer and make the conversion? We don't even know that answer yet. And if that's the case, does the commission have the appetite to make it mandatory?
Well, no choice, no sewer is clearly a recommendation, a possible recommendation.
Right, well, where do we all stand on that at this point?
I don't think, as the chair and as an individual member, I don't think I would want to articulate that. I think I would want to have more of this information to form a better judgment. I don't want to come here predisposed to, or have, I don't want to use the word bias. I don't want to be looking at things through the glasses of no sewer, or no assessments, or no of anything. I think we're here to be the eyes and ears of the commission, the town, and the staff, and to keep pushing out that decision until we're all comfortable of saying at this point, we'll have an opinion. Does anyone else agree with that?
Well, you were going to say something.
Go ahead, Arthur.
I was just going to say, I just want to go on record that I don't have an opinion one way or the other, and that's why I'm saying we need to focus on assess so we can get the information, so that we can individually or collectively come up with a decision as to, do we think there should be a transition to sewer, and if so, is it partial, gradual, whatever? I mean, I at this point, if you ask me, I don't have the information to make the decision.
Well, I guess where I come back to is when you figure out per unit cost, which is about $8,000 to $25,000 per unit that people are going to pay. I don't see them voluntarily paying that, the whole city. So if we come up with the recommendation that we should go to sewer, they're not going to voluntarily do that, a lot of people. So unless the town, the commission, is willing to put a mandate in order, it's kind of a moot point.
But I actually don't believe that, because if there was a mandate, we don't know whether the mandate would be next month. We don't know whether the mandate would be 5 years from now. The value of doing this is going through the process, establishing the framework of how to pick this up at any point in the future and have valuable information, know what you still need, and be able to respond to a mandate. I believe I've heard, I'm not quite so sure, but didn't some of the counties in the south only get 18 months once the mandate was given to them?
Yes, but I think there's a little bit of confusion. You're talking about a state mandate, and I think John is talking about the town mandating that people connect.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm actually talking about any mandate. I'm not, I don't know what the commission's disposition is of whether they would
Should we ask?
support one or not.
I think they're waiting for us to give our information
Right.
so that they
Exactly.
can then make a decision. assessment.
Right.
I do want to add one thing, and the attorney's not here, and I'm not positive, but I think under the current law, if the municipality puts a sewer line in front of your house, you are required within a certain amount of time to hook up. It's not like the sewer line's there, if you want it, take it, if you don't, don't, so.
Well, I mean, that's under explore legalities. Those are the kinds of things that we're going to be asked by the residents, and we need to go get that information so that they know that they would be required or wouldn't be required, or they would have, or Boynton would offer a package that would say, we're putting it here, we understand that you will have to do it, but here's the terms and conditions, that you could have 5 years to do it, you would have to do it if you sold your property. It can be done in many ways, it's just that we need to present that information.
Neil, as the committee knows, I'm closer to this decision than most. The fact is that the Boynton presentation clearly shows that they want to move on bringing a pipe across the intercoastal that starts this process for the town located on the Crown Colony property. I'm very aware of what the next steps are going to have to be, and for me, it's relatively binary. We either allow that to happen in this short-term environment by educating and understanding what's going to happen next, or we don't. If we don't, okay, it actually pushes this conversation off by a number of years. Because until Boynton comes up with Plan B, all right, that's not going to happen for the south side of Woolbright. So for where I come from on this, I like your assessment approach. I believe there's an education process here to not only help the people south, but I think the whole conversion, and not only its cost, because the costs are really out of sight, it's a matter of practicality, and I'd be willing to get highly involved in that, and I see you've asked me to do so in a later presentation, to assess this value and make my 2 cents worth.
Thank you.
Just maybe
Go
one more.
ahead.
Yeah, just one more thing. I think there's 4 different layers of, when we use the word mandate, it's always a little scary, right? The state can mandate something, the county can mandate something. The town commission possibly can, I would have to ask Brian, but
EPA could.
certainly we cannot. So we're here to do our homework, recommend, engage with you, have a dialogue, come up with the best recommendation, and give that to the town commission to take it from there.
So I have one question, is that did Boynton come to the city with a proposal to run the sewer line, or did the town or some of the HOAs start that process?
From the documents that I have from the past, there was a resident at Crown Colony who approached Boynton, okay, and wanted to see about the possibility of this. That escalated into the 5 package plants that are south of Woolbright, okay, to understand what the possibilities are and would they be open to it. The same gentleman went to the town, he presented in front of the commission, and the commission encouraged him to go forward. He subsequently wrote a document, which we have, I can make a matter of record, where he had the 5 presidents of the 5 treatment plants, as well as the 5 commissioners at the time, okay, sign it and encourage Boynton, okay, to go ahead and develop such a plan. That was approximately 5 years ago. That's the best of my knowledge.
Okay. So we don't have is the city of Boynton like saying, here, come join our system? Are they proactively saying that, or are they saying, here's some options for you if you so desire?
Well, I think it's past that point. Boynton's gone to the point where they want to put that pipeline in, and they want us to hook up to it.
Not only that, but they've spent a lot of their resources in developing the plan for it as well.
Okay, so let's close those comments and let's move on to the next part of this. do I get an endorsement of this concept then, of this statement of purpose? Can we adopt this statement of purpose? I mean, it could be amended later, but can we go ahead and use that as our framework?
Yes.
Do I need to have a vote on that, or would that be
A
better?
consensus.
Pardon?
Consensus is fine.
Okay, consensus is fine. All right. So we'll use that as a core working document, and obviously recognizing Art's comments, and hopefully they'll get addressed in item number 6. I'd like to make a little segue. I'd like to acknowledge the Coastal Star. We have the good fortune to have an award-winning proactive force in Ocean Ridge, the Coastal Star. Their laser focus on issues affecting the barrier islands and coastal residents helps us through a greater understanding of how we're all in this together. I'd like to draw your attention to the August edition, where articles by Rich Pollock and the town's own Mary Kate Lemming about sewer systems are the headline story, the lead editorial, and I refer you to pages 1, 2, 8, and 9. There are copies available in the back of the room in case yours got inundated during the storm. I encourage you to read it. It's the first of 3 installments. It covers a million things that you didn't have to hear from me in my opening presentation. When I got that delivery, online early edition, I was just absolutely elated. It gave me at least 2 free days. So, is Rich Pollock in the audience? Could you stand up? I'd like to recognize you and thank you for the work you did. All right, I see Terry's here. He's got a piece of paper in hand, as usual. It's time for public comment. Kathy, could you read the instructions on agenda item 4, please?
Sure. Public comments on specific agenda items may be made later in the meeting when the items are taken up at the discretion of the committee. There is a 3-minute individual limit for public comments that will be timed by the town clerk. Public comment is not meant to be a question or answer period, and there is no dialogue. Anyone wishing to speak during public comment, please come up to the podium and print your name and address on the sheet provided and state your name and address for the record.
Okay, I'd like to add to that, to be clear, this portion of the meeting should be focused on general comments of the subject matter or the statement of purpose that was just presented. Later on, we'll get into the issue of HOAs and residential septic. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Recognize the gentleman in the
Someone in the back would like to speak. Let them go first.
His hand went up faster than yours, Terry.
Yeah.
There is no paper or pencil there for them to write their name on.
Okay, we'll correct that problem.
Hold on.
Can we do that?
Yep, here.
I'm Joe Belmonte, 5600 North Ocean Boulevard, and this is very impressive, but I feel I might not live long enough for us to get all of this finished. And as Ron was speaking about the 5 units, the 5 package plants that are at the south end of town, we were ready to hook up. We've had our sewer line scoped, we know what's there. We talked with Boynton, and Don Bowden was the late Don Bowden, I should say, was the person who got all this going. And because the town is now getting in on this, it's like we're pushed back another 3, 4, 5 years until all this gets settled out. I'd like to see, let's take care of the south end, because a lot of people put a lot of time into that, and let's get started with that. And then the rest of this will come. Also, I think, doesn't Boynton have a whole plan of doing this? Can't we let them come in and say, give us a plan, and then we'll yay or nay it to make it easier so we don't have to do all this work? Just a thought, I don't know where we've gone on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next. He ran off with the paper.
Terry Brown, Harbor Drive South. No, I just wanted to say that, and you did a wonderful job. I'm sure you stayed up late at night going through all this and trying to get it right. But there's a larger vision that is missing from this whole thing. There's not a state mandate. There's only 2 agencies that can order a mandate, and that hasn't happened. We're not adjacent yet to an impaired body of water. That could happen in 10 years. These septic tank systems, per the engineer's comments, thank you. Oh, you already did it for me, thank you. And like Joe says, I don't know if any of us will live long. I'm going to be 75, so if I live 10 years, that's going to be good for me. So this may not happen. But the thing I want people to look at in a vision, particularly in the south end, since that seems to be the focus, is that once you have a sewer pipe, you are looking at a different type of development, which is nowhere in here a vision for the town. Now, Zoe and I and a couple of other people served on the Charter Review Committee and tried to get a simple supermajority 4 votes on certain types of development issues. Well, that didn't go well with the commissioners. I've been around a long time. I've served on this commission. I've served on county boards. I've seen lots of things go on. People come and they go. You get a sewer pipe here, you got someone that owns a piece of property in the south end of town that wants to tear it down and build a condo that's higher than 2 stories, which is what we've been limiting with the garage level and the 2 living areas, similar to that project that's going on down the county pocket. They come into the commission, they change the whole scope of the town by changing the rules. All they need is 3 votes, not 4 votes, and all of a sudden you have a development order. You change your comprehensive plan, you change your rules, and you have a development order for a 10, 20-story building. And no one can stop them. There's no state agency that can stop them. No resident can vote against it if you have 2 public hearings. So be sure that you remember what the vision of the town is now. Low level, low density, old. I will admit that a lot of projects in the south end of town, my house is 50 years old. My septic tank works fine right now, and I'm not looking forward to spending $20,000 on a new system. But you have a danger here with development. I've seen it happen. I'm born and raised here in this county, and I've seen a lot of things happen. And so much development goes on, and the developers always get what they want. Always. They've got enough money to change the rules, and they get it. So just be cautious when you talk about putting a pipe at the south end and someone comes in and wants to develop a property. They have 8 units, they want 15 and 20 units, and they got to go up. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else? Sir?
Good morning. My name's John Fugo. I'm the president of the HOA at 3 to 17 Adams Road, the Ocean Ridge Townhomes. And I just flew in. That's why I was late. I'm sorry. So I'm catching this a little late. I'll give you my thoughts. I got to be the president of the HOA against my better judgment because I'm a general contractor, licensed in 9 states, worked in 37, and a real estate developer. And I kind of got the role by default. So I've had it for 2 years. I've resigned in advance coming up this January, and I've spent 75% of my time dealing with our fast wastewater treatment system that's brand new, trying to get it in compliance.
Excuse me, let me interrupt. Are your comments all about your particular septic system?
No,
or
no.
More general?
I can give
to
you
the subject?
general. I don't want to speak out of turn because I'm trying to catch up. But I can tell you, let me go to a different side, then I'll get away from our system.
Please come back to talk about your system, that portion of it in the later comments, but
Okay.
continue, please.
Then let me offer this. We have a home in North Carolina. Our home office is there. My wife's a resident here, I'm a resident there, and our son is moving here. We're developing now a commercial project in North Carolina that is 350 acres of 7,000, and we're dealing with this very issue with the municipality. We have to build a $30 million sewage treatment plant, which is temporary, just to get some buildings up. Then we're going to turn it over to the municipality. We've also dealt with Orange County and Chapel Hill, and the municipalities from our side, if it costs to hook up to the municipal sewer for a homeowner, you can almost take the cost and add it to the value of the property. So from that point of view, property value is going up. As far as developers, and I appreciate very much what you said, because I've been on that side. Zoning controls the developer, good zoning. But it's environmentally, having these systems everywhere is not good. And I've learned that the hard way because, you know, being a developer, it's not what you think about first, but dealing with these municipalities, I've come to understand that the people that have to administer them, monitor the tests, all the time they have to spend is very costly, time-consuming, and a lot of these systems just don't comply. And I don't know what that means overall to the environment. Our system still doesn't comply, and it's brand new, because it was engineered for a certain occupancy, and only half of our residents are there, so the system doesn't work, so it's been re-engineered. Anyway, for what it's worth, if those thoughts help you.
Thank you.
Sorry for bringing up the system early.
No, please come back for the condo section under number 5. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Betty, please.
Betty Bingham, 1 East Ocean Avenue. I just have one quick, short statement. I will very much object to Boynton taking over any portion of the land or alleys or controlling the septic system or the sewage system in Ocean Ridge. We can take their quotes, etc., but Ocean Ridge should control it completely. Boynton would love nothing better than to get their claws into Ocean Ridge and take them over eventually. And they've said so.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good morning, Christine Schulte from 7 Adams Road. You get an A++ for the program that we just saw. Is it possible to have a Xerox copy for the people that came a little late to have, you know, because they will have some good input?
It's on the website,
It's on the website already?
in a one-page summary.
Okay, oh, that's great. I didn't know that. Okay, yeah, because I don't want anybody to miss such good work, you know?
Thank you.
I think she updated it yesterday.
We have pretty bright people in this town, you know? After 28 years, I knew that, you know? Thank you.
Any other public comment? Committee members, any other comments based on what we've just heard? All right, so we'll close item 4, public comment, and we'll move on to item 5, which is information gathering. This is a question and answer period. The committee, at its discretion, will engage in dialogue if it's necessary. So let's start out with the condo associations. Do we have any condo representatives here that would like the opportunity to speak? Sir, please start us off.
My name is George Lettis. I'm president of Colonial Ridge Club.
I'm sorry, I missed
I'm
it.
George Lettis from the Colonial Ridge Club. I'm also a board member of the Ron Kearns organization, Colonial Ridge, Ocean Manor, and Crown. This is not supposedly a question, but basically a statement. We were told by Boynton Beach, Boynton Town, that we had to maintain our main line, and if the main line was clean, that eventually they would take it over. Therefore, we scoped a line, and we found there was 372 feet of cracked pipe. We scoped it, and then we lined it at a cost of about $50 a foot. So between that and Joe Patanetti sent us a letter stating that we were successful, sent him a video, and he said, "You're good to go." So my recommendation is for those HOAs, co-ops, condos, scope the line. If there's problems, line the line, and you'll be signed off. That's what we were told. So that's my statement.
Thank you for the info. Anyone else? Please.
Hi, I'm Minnie Urbanik, I'm president of Oyster Bay. I think we're probably the only co-op in town.
Okay.
Can I assume that everything that's applying to a condo will also apply to us as a co-op?
Yes.
Thank you.
Neil, did you want each condo association to answer the questions that are displayed?
I think we have the information for Crown Colony. Did you see the outline up there?
I see it, but I have not been provided with it. I would like to fill it out, if that's, I think we need, everybody who has a multi-unit in the town needs to, you guys need to have that information, correct?
Well, we're asking for people to volunteer. Would you be willing to do it now, or do you want to wait until
No, I'll do it now.
we have actually send out a survey?
Either way is fine. I
Yeah.
don't know if you guys have me listed anywhere as the person to contact, though.
Kathy, do it.
This is for Capri,
Oyster Bay.
Oyster Bay?
Sharon Urbana.
Oyster Bay,
Unit 19?
20 units.
Actually, we have 20 units, only 19 of them occupiable.
One is by the manager, or the, yeah.
One is a common unit where we have a washer and dryer.
Okay. We have that you are, that you just have a basic septic, so do you have a small plant with a drain field? Is that the type?
Yes. And our system was empty this spring. We have 19 units, but we're hardly ever occupied more than 6 or 7. We have a lot of seasonal owners who only come down for either a couple months or some of them just a couple of weeks.
Okay.
So I think we have like maybe right now 6 or 7 full-time residents who are there year-round, and the rest of the units are occupied sporadically.
May I ask, is it a plant or is it just a large tank?
I think it's just a drain field. I think it's,
Has to have a septic system or something.
we have a septic tank. I don't know whether we have a septic system, and I don't know what the difference is.
Oh,
It seems, I would imagine it's the same as a residential,
Just
where you
Just
have a
scaled up
tank and
residential
then
system.
the water flows to
Scale up
the,
residential.
and then out to a field.
I have the original building plans, if that will help anybody.
As opposed to having one of the package plants.
Yeah,
that you have.
that's right.
Yeah, scaled up septic with drain field. Okay.
Neil, I could respond to Crown Colony, but I would, and I know you've talked to the Crown Colony president, but I prefer the Crown Colony property manager to speak about the Crown Colony rather than myself, or does it matter to you?
No, I would prefer the manager also.
Donna?
If you want to
Please
come
come
up
up.
to the mic, yeah.
What was the age of your system in Oyster?
It was put in when the units were built, and I believe that was in the 1960s.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Good morning.
Okay, if we could follow the guide up there,
Yep.
I appreciate it.
My name is Tana Callahan. I am the property manager for Crown Colony Club. We have approximately 142 residential units.
148.
No.
148.
Oh,
148.
I'm sorry, wrong property.
I know there's 6 that you don't
Yes.
want to talk about, but that's okay.
Yes, yes, okay, yeah, 148 units. And they are attached to a package plant that is shared with 2 other communities. And it is a injection well system. And the size of the system,
It's
there's a
it's 100
total-
it's rated for 100,000
It's-
gallons a day.
okay. And currently, during the peak of season, we operate somewhere around 30,000 gallons per day. During the off-season, it drops down to somewhere around 10,000 gallons per day for the volume.
No, it's actually, I get the reports,
Yeah,
Todd doesn't
you
on
get
this.
it,
That's
yeah.
she's talking about the treatment plant now, but it actually averages 30,000 gallons a day, 65,000 gallons in the peak season, and it drops to about 10 to 15,000 gallons now.
During the summer, yeah. The age of the system, the system's been there 50
50 years.
50 years. And currently, the condition is excellent. It's operated by U.S. Water, and we have not had any issues that I know of with the plant. It is concrete, which is probably one of the best built that's out there.
You might want to add also the condition of the pipes that are internal to Crown Colony.
Crown Colony has scoped their internal pipes, just as Colonial Ridge has done, and they are preparing to do repairs and lining as well. The condition of them is very good. There are some minor repairs that need to be made, and they are considering also lining the entire thing to prevent any further future damages just because of age.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Tom.
Anyone else?
My name is Rick Schmitz. I live at 9 Ocean Harbor Circle, Ocean Ridge. The development is Ocean Harbor Estates. We have 15 residential homes. We have an in-ground package plant that basically controls our system. It was built in 2002 and is operated by Aqua Data. The condition of the plant is good. Very good. The problems that we have a backup generator system basically to control the plant in the event of power outages that was replaced about 3 years ago. As far as issues with the system, the only issues that we have is it has a very sophisticated programmable logic control system that controls the plant automatically. And as with any electronics, those have aged and have issues with respect to repairs from it from time to time. As far as number of residents, we have approximately 5 residents that are there full-time, with the balance of it being seasonal. I don't have the flow data, perhaps you know, but I would say that we're operating somewhere between 25 and 40% of the capacity. I have a description of the tanks that are associated with it prepared for the board. I don't know who wants this, but it's something that will give you more information on the components within the system itself.
Are you drain field or injection?
We're injection well.
Shallow well.
Yes, but approximately, and we monitor that on a monthly basis with respect to, the particulates that go there, but there are 2 injection wells in the system.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Good morning again, John Fugo. 17 Adams Road, 3 to 17 Adams Road. We have a fast system with four tanks in the ground, 2 large drain fields at either end of our development. And I think it was put online in 2016, so it's brand new. As far as how it operates, we're still trying to get it right. It's very close. Last test was very close, but still not there. That's all I know right now. Occupancy is probably 6 people for the year. I want to say 12 to 13 people average.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, one question. Who maintains your plant?
Environmental engineering out of Jacksonville. And we can't replace that engineer until we get the system right. It was re-engineered sometime during construction, I think to add another unit. I think that's when it kind of went off. I'm still figuring it out. That's all I can give you right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Anyone else?
Good morning, I'm Nadine McGee, I live in Wellington Arms. I know, Neil, you were out to check our system the other day, which is great. I encourage you guys to go look at everybody's personally.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was great.
Yes, we also have Aqua Data Cares for ours. I would just like to encourage you guys to walk over and look at the ocean right now. Lantana's is shut down right now for high bacteria counts. We need to move forward with this stuff. We at Wellington Arms want to do whatever. Whatever's fastest, best, go for it. To think that our systems are not increasing the bacteria out there is arguable, but we need to move forward, and Wellington Arms is on board with whatever you guys deem as quickest and best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning. I'm Jay Cohen. I'm the president of the Ocean Ridge Yacht Club. I don't have a lot of the particulars from an engineering standpoint, but I'll give you the basics. We have 50 units, a package plant that's over 30 years old right now that's functioning well, I would say. I can't give you a 1 to 10 on the scale. We did make some significant investments, which we were forced to do over the last year since I've been on the board, and the plant's running. It would be our interest to get this thing fast-tracked. We're kind of on the side that we don't know what's coming down the road. Right now, our plant's working. It's a metal containment that's rusted. We're not fortunate enough to have a concrete type.
Are you above ground?
We
Above
are.
ground metal?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
We came to learn that we already have a well that could be utilized for transition into a sewer system. So that's a savings. We had the folks from Boynton out a couple of weeks ago. We made significant investments over the last year or so for pumps and different pieces that are just ongoing maintenance items. But I would say, from a layman's standpoint, and Ron can probably help me, the fact that our plant is metal and rusting would be a concern, because I believe to reinforce that or do a concrete outer barrier would be significant money. Plus, I'm also of the belief, and I feel most of our residents are of the belief, that it would improve home value. From an environmental standpoint, I think it's the way to go. And there's been significant discussion about this, again, since I've been active with the community for almost 2 years now. And I echo Joe Belmonte's comments earlier. It is kind of a shame that the clutch has been pushed in, because we've now stepped back and looked at the holistic needs of the town, and I get all that. But I think as we go down this roadmap that Mr. Hennigan put together, we should really cull out a section of the communities that have done a lot of advanced work and not put us back on the same page with the balance of the town. This fellow Don Bowden, may rest in peace, started this work 4 or 5 years ago. I think he did a great job. There's certainly a lot of unanswered questions, but I think the folks on the south side that have been in conversation for many years now, to just kind of package us with the rest of the town and slow walk this process, I think is the wrong thing to do. That's my opinion.
Your system, drain field or injection well?
I believe it's drain field.
It's drain field.
Drain field.
Yeah.
Clearly, we're going to look at needs and location. and the overall, so I don't think you're gonna get ignored.
Okay. I promise.
Thank you. Anyone else, please?
We've communicated what the town is currently doing. Do you want to say that now, or is it fine? So I put it back in here, and Kathy, I think Jean has as well.
Come on up, come on up.
Benjamin Bailey, I represent Ocean Ridge Management, which is a group of 7 cooperatives from 6823 to 6880 North Ocean Boulevard, including the Ocean Club. So we have 3 water treatment plant facilities that Aqua Data maintains. I believe they're probably the age of the communities, which would be 50 years old. The condition is good. I believe that they're all concrete. I don't know about Ocean Farm. We have 2 concrete facilities. And then currently we don't have any issues per se.
Are you injecting the effluent, or are you drain fielding?
Drain fielding is one,
Pardon? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
2 of them are, drain field, one of them's going to the lagoon.
Going to, I still can't hear you.
To the lagoon. Discharges right to your house.
Yeah.
It discharges right into Spanish River.
Yeah, so one is, he said, drains into, I guess, the canal behind
Right
Island Drive.
into the lagoon, the Spanish River, I guess.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay.
Right where you live.
I'm sorry, could you repeat what units you represent?
So there's a group of 7 co-ops. They're from 6823 to 6880 North Ocean Boulevard.
Oh, yeah, I saw them all.
6823 to
6880. So there's 2 co-ops on the west side of A1A, which are the Masonette South and the Ocean Masonettes. They're 31 single-family type structures. And there's 5 co-ops on the ocean side, on either side of the Ocean Club. And then we treat the Ocean Club's wastewater as well. Thank you.
Gary with Aqua Data, and I think we run 11 systems up and down the island. And
Who is we? I'm sorry.
Aqua Data.
Thank you.
Aqua Data, yes.
It'd probably be easier for us to just fill one of these out for each one,
That'd be appreciated.
and we'll give that to you if you've got a blank. Or you've got 11, I'm gonna do them today before we leave, so you'll have that.
Can we do that?
Yes.
We'll
We
take care of
got,
it right after the meeting.
But, you know, all of the systems, on a scale of 1 to 10, they're probably a 9, and a 6 is probably the worst one that needs work. So they're all in pretty good shape. And they're just like any city plant or whatever, they all need maintained. And, you know, that's what we do. And, as far as bacteria, the lady was talking about, we don't have those issues. Not, you know, we don't have those issues going to the ocean like the city plants do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any others? Okay. Next topic.
May I ask a question?
Go ahead, please.
Before we get onto the residential?
Yes.
I'll just be direct. So my understanding is that there's this Colonial Crown Manor disposal system serving Crown Colony, Colony Ridge, and Ocean Manor.
Correct.
Correct. And I think the gentleman from Colonial Ridge seemed to be saying that there was an interest in hooking up to Boynton Beach. Was that correct assessment? So I'm just gonna be, I'm getting the sense that you're with Crown Colony?
Which hat would you like me to wear?
Well, so I guess the sense I get though is
I think
that.
we should address the manager.
Okay, I get the sense that Crown Colony's preference is not to join Boynton Beach.
At this point, this point, because the plant is operational and in very excellent condition, they do not see the need to rush through to any decision at this point.
Okay, thank you.
They want to, just like you guys are doing, they want to get all their data first before they make a decision.
I think I would have to make fair disclosure. I had a telephone conversation with Salem, what's Salem's last name? Mazeroff. Prior to my coming out and connecting with you to get an overview of the facility, and he strongly indicated to me that they did not want to participate.
And he's with which group?
He's with
Crown
Crown
Colony.
He's the president of Crown Colony.
So am I the only one that sees a bit of a problem is what to do south of
I'm not adding up the numbers at this point, but I'm sure we will.
Well, just for the record, there's a total of 360 units that are involved in the five communities, 3 plants, 360. The Colonial Crown Disposal Plant handles 290 of them, or about 80%. So you can see how the dynamics work. For the Ocean Ridge Yacht Club and Ocean Manor, and Turtle Beach are the only two that are, they're separate. So they most likely will be in favor. I haven't heard from Turtle Beach, but their plant, from what they sent them, the notice that they've sent to me, basically saying that their plant is deteriorating. And so in the Ocean Ridge Yacht Club, they basically want to move forward on the pipe. Crown Colony does not.
Can I ask, and this is jumping ahead, I apologize, can I ask a question? Is there any way that your facility, not your facility, but the
Colonial Ridge, the
Colonial Crown
treatment
Manor
plant.
Disposal System,
Yes.
given its excess capacity, can it take on Turtle Beach and Ocean Ridge?
I think I don't think we should be going there right now.
I sure don't.
Yeah, I think that's outside the scope, or at least.
Well, I think it's an option
out.
outside later on down the road. When you take this tree and you start breaking it down to the different elements, that's going to be one tree. As we're going to say, if the answer is no to one question, then that may be a possibility on another question.
I just want to draw a line between collecting information and negotiating,
That's
and I think we're crossing it. So
fine with me.
I would like to stop there.
I don't think it's crossing the line to find out they have the capacity.
Yeah, I agree.
That's not crossing the
Well,
line.
it is, because you're asking Ron, who's a member of this committee, to be addressing that rather than the person or persons that are from that community. I just don't think we should go there. And if you question that, we will bring it up. We'll make that an item to bring up at the next meeting when we have the legal.
That's fine with me. We can have.
I'm not disagreeing that we need to get it. I just don't think
It's an engineering question. It's not saying they should hook up, shouldn't hook up. It's an engineering, it's an assessment. Does the plant have the capacity? And maybe maybe it needs to be answered by an engineer, but I think it's a very legitimate question to be asked as part of the assessment. Do they have the capacity to take on those 2 other, however many units there are, 20 units?
Well, I mean, in some ways, I think you could do your own math.
There's 76.
I don't know what GPD is per unit.
Actually, well, there's a capacity stated in the, our comp plan requirements per occupant. You note the occupancy of each of the other condominium projects, and you know how many available gallons there are in the system, because we've already had that expressed
I
to me.
really don't appreciate your tone. I'm not an engineer. I can't sign
Okay,
off on it.
well, I'm just saying, I think we're going farther than we should be going at this point. So, does the town want to express an opinion, take a side, or is it something we should take a vote on as a committee? Where do you think we should be?
As a committee, definitely, take a vote.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm with Art.
you're with Art?
I'm with Art too.
You're with Art? Then it carries. Ask the question.
Well, and I'm asking the question to whoever, and I don't know whether it's to the town engineer to make the assessment or to the company that manages the system. It's just I guess maybe to ask the question is, can that system take on additional capacity? Not whether they want to or not. The question is, how many additional units could that plant take on? The answer may be none. We want to have a 35% excess capacity. That may very well be the answer. I would just like to know.
I understand the question, and please.
Okay, I'll give you a relatively simple answer, but we do have data that backs this up. The plant is rated for 100,000 gallons per day. This is part of our license, which is with the EPA. The plant has been tested by 2 of our maintenance companies. We have 2 injection wells, which were the limitation. One of them, we just had tested, and its flow rate is 10% below minimum, which means that the overall rate of the plant could be somewhere around 90 to 95,000 gallons a day would be accurate. If the peak, and you gotta talk peak here, if the peak time is 65,000 gallons a day, which runs through the main 3 communities, and that's 80%. The remaining 2 communities, one at 50 units, Ocean Ridge Yacht Club, and Turtle Beach at 26. These would be an additional 20% on top of that number. So if you take it, you look at 13,000 gallons more per day at peak, all right? Or the total for the community, or for the plant, would go from 65 to 78,000 gallons a day at peak. The plant's rated at 100,000 and operating at 95 or 90,000. So the answer to your question is, it has the capacity.
Thank you.
However, I need to state one other thing. It's just not a matter of them running a pipe from both sides. That's expensive. The Ocean Ridge Yacht Club plant is located on the corner of Woolbright, okay, and A1A, and you would have to run a pipe down A1A, all the way down Chickashaw and into the plant. The pipe that runs currently from Colonial Ridge over is too small to handle that. Turtle Beach, on the other hand, they are located quite a distance away. They would have to run a pipe almost at the same cost that was in the Boynton project, all the way down, up A1A, across the street, down Chickashaw, okay, and into the plant. Very costly and not economical. There are alternatives, which we'll talk about later, for Turtle Beach. The yacht club has potential, although I think when you really sit down, you put the cost to it, it may not be the right solution.
Thank you for that information. And I agree, that capacity is only one piece of it. There's the cost of hooking up, can it even be hooked up, gravity, whatever.
Well, no, they have a pumping station. We force the sewage to the plant. They have a fairly decent lift station there.
Thank you.
I'm done.
You comfortable? Absolutely. Thank you. Can we move on now, please, to residential single-family comments, public comment? Do we have any?
Terry Brown, Harbor Drive South. Someone at the earlier meeting brought up the plan of action for people who are now putting in very expensive, and your town engineer said that there's no real issue with the existing septic tank systems in single-family homes. And am I right? I committed that to memory. The permitting that's changed, and Wayne is not here, is for newer systems, and that's an upgraded system that the state has approved. And they're expensive, 20 to 25,000. We have 2 of them going in our street right now. So the comment was, what would happen to people who have systems that may not be working so well, and all of a sudden, maybe 4 or 5 years down the road, you're going to put a pipe in front of their house. So what is their alternative? They're going to pay for this septic tank upgrade while they're still living there, and then they're going to have to pay for the hookup on the sewer. So you're talking a big hit on some of these smaller houses. So this is a thing that you need to think about in terms of your recommendation. The other thing I wanted to comment on, if you don't mind, are the gentlemen that were talking about their systems in the north end, and I don't have all that committed to memory either, but there's 3 types of plant that do not do shallow well injection. They process on site, and they're inspected by the state and the county, and they're good systems. They're old, but they discharge right into Spanish River. And there's 3 of them that do that along the north end there. And that information you can get from the Lake Worth Lagoon Initiative when they were trying to improve the water north of the inlet. This is not part of the Lake Worth Lagoon where we are. It's only north of the inlet. And that was mentioned. The amount of bacteria that they're discharging into intercoastal is so small comparatively that it doesn't affect the quality of the intercoastal. The drain off from the rain from the streets in our town, which don't have catch basins and filtering systems, is far worse than what they do. And that, if you're talking about putting a pipe at the south end where they have injection wells, you're gonna have to run a pipe all the way up there and catch those people, because they're the ones that are discharging directly into the intercoastal. That's part of the education process, and this information is available through the county. Thank you.
Do we want to just, if I, make sure I have this correct, that when the Boynton Beach gave their presentation, going to be doing the whole town, they were talking about 2 crossings in the intercoastal, one for the south of Woolbright and one for north, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Just wanted to make sure that everybody.
Yeah, I know, but we're talking about getting multi-units up in the north end of town to connect with what you have in the south end of town. I mean, you're talking a big project.
Oh, are you suggesting that one of the pipes don't make it and that the
You
south?
should catch the north end first, not the south end.
Interesting comment.
Because they're older systems and they're discharging directly into the intercoastal. It's only my assumption that that would be what people would want to look at. I'm not saying you should do it.
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, this is a whole new world to me, and I didn't think anything discharged directly into any.
Oh, yeah, it's been doing it for years.
And I'm appalled. But then you tell me that there's a minute amount of bacteria there.
Well, they're saying it's so small that it doesn't affect the quality of the intercoastal versus all the other stuff that's going into the intercoastal.
Okay, thank you, Terry, let's cut it off there. I think we'll get into that when we get to assessing. And
But they didn't know, no one knew that. No one mentioned that in your presentation.
we haven't started assessing yet. You don't know what I'm sitting on. Okay, let's close that item and let's go to item 6. And again, this is a result of the Sunshine Law. I'm taking a look here at how we move from a statement of purpose to actually doing physical, functional, and financial type things. And I'd like us to adopt a working group model. I'd like each of us to become active leads in given areas. I'm not expecting everyone to become experts, but I think we need the ability to focus and manage the timeline, and I don't think we can all do that collectively. I would like to spread that out. I would like all members to be engaged and involved in all areas, but have active leads. I think the working group needs to be responsible for deliverables. I don't think we should be conducting all our business when we're all together. I think we have to bring some products back or run them through the town staff and have that then go out to the committee members, and that way we can speed up this process that we all don't want to take our whole lifetime. I'd like to open the concept up of how available each of you committee members or as a collective want to provide contact for the public to send us information or have discussions outside of these public sessions. I'm willing and will post online my email address. I would appreciate that we don't do texting, telephone. I would like to work through email, and if you want me to call you back, let me initiate the phone contact. I don't know what the other members would like to do. If they would like to comment on that, please go ahead and do so. Ron?
I surely I see what you have me down for. I surely can take that on, and I would do most of it through email, and then in those cases where I did build up the contact points and they would like me to come and see the plant, I could arrange that over time if they thought that that was necessary. But I believe that I could put together a fairly decent picture of what the package plants look like, okay, for I don't know how many there are, I counted 19 or so, something like that. I have the time to do it. I'd be happy to do it.
Art?
Happy to do whatever, to do these items you listed here.
That works for you?
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that support. Roy?
Yeah, I'm good with it.
You're good on it also?
I am as well.
And so is John. Good. So for the public, what we're all looking at here is a division of labor. I think that's the easiest way to express it. The first thing we're going to look at, it is priority number one, is the potable water agreement. And for the potable water agreement, I'm going to get involved with Wayne, Lisa, the town attorney, and Brian, and I'm going to lead that infrastructure ownership issue, getting the information out to this committee and to you, the public. Art is going to run the financial end of that. He's going to look at the trade-off of owning the infrastructure, moving the infrastructure to Boynton, doing our own maintenance, having Boynton do the maintenance, and looking at past history of the types of charges and expenses we've had, and with Lisa, any large outlays that are planned in the future to upgrading the water system. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that, Czar?
I just also want to talk to the town attorney about legal, particularly the one question about if if Boynton happens to own the lines, what process would be involved for them to take over the town?
Okay.
Get their input on that.
Okay. For the package plants, that's what Ron was just commenting on. I think we all know we don't have a lead here, we've got an expert, so let's just say a lot of that's going to be in his hands. For the RSF issues, which we did seem to have a lot of input today, I'm still going to ask Roy to continue being open to getting assessment information from individual owners and working through that. But even more importantly, it's a one-line item here, but it's huge. Roy's going to lead the transition of other communities, collecting that information and making you aware of best and worst practices.
Sounds good.
Okay? And John's going to get the job that I didn't want to do.
He didn't speak up.
There wasn't enough money ever offered here to get me to do this one, but it is so damn important. So John is going to be our sourcing person, public-private. He's going to be our liaison for networking, relationship building, and let's get going on a good grant program. So, thank you, John. Any more comments? Did we answer your thing that wanted us to refer back to the statement of purpose?
Yeah, this splits
This
up nicely.
split it up. Okay, thank you very much.
Neil, can I just make one comment?
Yes, please.
As you work on all of these items, just remember that you're not to gather the information and then disseminate it to the other committee members. Make sure it comes directly to staff, because you can't be communicating, because that's a violation
Here
of
we go
sunshine.
again.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
There's
So
one,
any information you gather, just filter it through staff.
there's one possible thing to add to this, which came to mind based on a comment made earlier. And I guess I have the sense that the highest priority, or the one that needs to be dealt with first, has to do with what I call the multifamily units south of Woolbrae. And so there was a comment made about there are other options to consider. And I think it might be helpful for the committee to hear what those other options are. I think that's part of the assessment. What options, are there options other than everybody stay, the current situation and connecting to Boynton Sewer? It appears that there are some other options in the middle. I, for one, would like to know what they are and maybe have them added to this part of the discussion at our next meeting.
Now, are you excuse me,
Sorry.
I'm still listening, go ahead.
At your next meeting, your town engineer is going to be giving you a report, and that should answer a lot of those questions.
Okay,
Okay,
great.
good. All right, then I'll stay out of that part. Okay, so then let's move on to what we're going to do in the future, future. So this stuff that we're doing here, the way we partition these things, initially, I think the first thing to address is potable water. That's a physical, functional thing that we have to resolve. Has anyone else read the Boynton Beach Service Agreement on the water?
The ones that were sent out?
The one that we were sent out? I'd like to comment on it. I could not believe how simple and straightforward it was. It's not a complex agreement. It's existed since, in various tiny iterations since 1951. It's effective. It's been working. I haven't heard water complaints in town. It's an agreement between two communities that are both honorable participants in it. And I think that really says a lot. I think Boynton Beach has been fair and willing, and Ocean Ridge has been responsible and reliable. And I think as we move forward, I hope what we hear from Boynton and what we do on this committee keeps the spirit of that alive. I don't think we have to create something like I got the other day when I bought an electric toothbrush. 55 pages in 8 languages of how to stay out of trouble. That's my only comment. Anyone else?
If I may, and I don't mean to draw any conclusions here at all, but the water agreement, this is almost binary. On one hand, you have a system that's been in place, as you pointed out, for quite some time. On the other hand, is that what's your alternative? The alternative is you have to build your own water delivery system. And I can't imagine that we have the space, time, money, or even the desire to do such a thing. So therefore, if the 50,000 foot level says we're going to stay with Boynton delivering the water to us, the rest of it is all negotiation, okay, inside the new contract. They want to provide the service in the presentation from last month. They want to provide all the service. They want to guarantee the purity of the water because they believe that they should be taking care of the pipes as well as delivering the water. Seems reasonable. Any fears that would come from that would have to end up being in the contract, costing and price increases, rate increases, things where they control, but they do it today. I mean, Crown Colony is a huge user of the water system. We pay them $3,100 a month. I know exactly what their cost is, their delivery cost. if you start with something like this, you'll end up with a contract, a long-term contract, that is acceptable, that has the teeth in it to protect the residents, okay, from unnecessary cost increases. So, in my opinion, you're headed down the right track. I agree with your statement 100%. Getting away from Boynton, okay, I think would be a massive mistake.
Any other comments?
Just one thing that, we hear about this contract ending, but it doesn't turn into a pumpkin, right? If we get to November of 20, whatever, it still continues.
It just says a simple statement that it will continue and negotiation will continue. There's no escalator that I saw, there's no.
No, it stays in place.
Yeah, it's two agreeable people agreeing to supply and receive water, and I think we work from there. So I think that will be, that'll be priority number one is, and on things that each of us is looking at here under the potable water agreement, there's more details of how we would do that. And I think these other things, I think we will, per Art and Ron, we will quickly get into the package plant assessment options, et cetera, and these other items are going to play out over a longer period of time because they literally are going to take longer. So for the next meeting, schedule committee meetings. I would like to propose that the next meeting be September 18th.
Sorry, I'm out of the country.
You're out of the country. Till when?
Well, let's just drop back a step. Everyone on the committee here, I believe, is full-time here, correct? I spend my summers in Massachusetts. So I flew down yesterday for this, and I'm flying back tomorrow.
Okay.
I came just for this. It's because it's important. I feel it's very important. But I can't, it becomes not only a financial burden, but a real burden for me. But I do come down here every 6 weeks for at least a week to 10 days for medical treatment. And I would prefer if we would set a date, and I could try to work around my doctor's appointments so that my trips down here don't have extra expense.
Okay.
So
well, we were for future meetings, looking at what town staff gets involved with planning and zoning, commission meetings, et cetera, et cetera. Tracy and I were trying to identify the third Wednesday of a given month as being a suitable day. Now, the September meeting was me trying to be back in the country. And I can make it the week of September 18th. I could flop it a day, but prior to that, I'm going to be gone for almost a month.
When are you coming back? When's your next scheduled trip back?
I'm here from the 31st of August to the 10th of September.
Exactly when I'm
And
going.
Neil's out.
That's when Neil's gone.
Country.
Then after that, I'm here, okay, in the middle of October from the 12th to the 18th. In November, depends, but I'm here 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. December, the end of the month. Let me just comment, and I don't want to be, because I'm only one member of this, but Wednesdays typically would not work for me, any Wednesday, okay? Because when I am down here, it's in conjunction. I have macular edema, and I get injections in my eyes every 6 weeks. So therefore, and that happens, the doctor's schedule out of Palm Beach Gardens happens to be on Wednesdays. There's no way that I can't see.
What about Thursdays?
Thursdays work for me. Thursdays work for me very well. Even after one day, I usually can see the next day. So I would prefer Thursdays over Wednesdays. if we schedule it enough in advance, I'll work around the doctor's schedule and my trip schedule down here to make it happen. But I will miss one or two.
Could we
Let's
do the
talk about this
third Thursday?
September meeting. This September meeting, I think, is going to be 90% Lisa Trepepi making a presentation. Are you comfortable not being at that presentation?
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be a lot of doing business
I have
among ourselves.
I have
from
spent
the
significant time with her on the plants. Okay, she has visited, as well as Tracy has, several times. Matter of fact, just recently, Lisa met with Boynton Utility at Crown Colony. So, and I was there for that. And I believe that what she's going to say, if she's going to talk about the presentation that you sent in the package.
No,
No.
well, no,
No, she has a brand new one.
This is a pretty huge deal. Overview of many, many things.
If, I'm comfortable not being here for that one, as long as I can get a copy of it, either before or after her presentation.
Yes, you can, and you can also have a one-on-one with her and I as well.
I'd say there's a
that's a good deal.
possibility that I won't be
And
here.
go ahead, Art, please.
I'm sorry, there's not anything firm, but there's a possibility that I won't be here in the middle of September. But I've read many an engineering report in my life, so.
Well, we'd have to have a quorum.
Right. Oh, to the city, are people allowed to participate, by telephone, and does that apply to the quorum? No?
No.
Well, I'm almost afraid to turn in this direction.
I live a boring life, I'm here.
You're here. Thank you very much. John?
I'll be here too, but I don't know if there's a way to maybe move it earlier, to start earlier in the day, 8 or 8:30.
I don't have a problem with that.
It would cause overtime for staff, just so you know,
There's your
because my
answer.
staff doesn't start until 8, so to set up the room, it takes about 45 minutes.
Okay,
I have a question.
please.
If somebody cannot be here, other than vacating the seat, are you allowed to send somebody in your stead?
We don't have alternates, and we need a quorum.
Got it.
The quorum has been defined just as a simple majority.
My plans are not definitive, so just you set the date that works, and I will do my best to.
Okay, so,
If you do the 18th of September, looks like I'm the only one that may not be here.
so let's pick the 18th of September, and through input to Tracy.
Do you want to do the third Thursday of every month after that?
And then instead of doing third Wednesday, let's do third Thursday.
That works for me. I'll be here on the 17th of October. Is great. That's perfect.
Excellent.
Okay, and we're gonna stay with the 9 AM.
You can do 8:30 if you'd like, just can't do 8.
Hey, and I'm here on the 21st of November too.
Would anybody else, I would be amenable to 8:30 also.
8:30 it is.
8:30.
That means that's great news.
That help, John?
Yes,
That helps.
thank you.
All right, so next meeting, September 18th, 8:30, town engineer presentation, and you just then have homework, Ron, and that would be to get your condo package plant assessment survey for us to comment on to the town staff that it would be available at that meeting.
That's not a problem. For that meeting, you want it for our meeting here, not the commission meeting on the beginning of the month, but our meeting, correct?
This meeting on the 18th.
Yep.
So
All right.
I would ask you to have it a week before,
Yes.
at least a week before, that it could be
Send it
sent
to you.
out and we can digest it.
I'll have a spreadsheet made up with as much data as I can possibly gather. I will gather some of that information personally when I'm down here the first week in September, and I'll provide that spreadsheet with all this data to Tracy for the meeting.
Okay, any other business? Is there?
Motion to
Am I
adjourn?
hearing a motion?
Motion to adjourn?
Am I hearing a second?
I'll second.
Second.
All say aye.
Oh, yeah, aye.
Passes. Thank you very much.
Great meeting, guys, great.
Let them, that would help me, at least with the start of the spreadsheet. Now, look at, we have this was sent out to us.